Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Steam Train. I hope you guys are all doing well. This is the 3 p.m. session. It is based for kids in 3rd to 5th grade, but kids in all ages can feel free to join in and follow along with me. Don't forget to check out newminds.tv to see all of our awesome lessons all put in one place. And we're going to go ahead and get started with something really awesome today. If you don't know me yet, my name is Mr. Dorian, and I'll be leading you guys through the lesson today. So a while ago, we talked a little bit about traits. They're the things that make you, you. If you missed that lesson, feel free to check it out on newminds.tv. But we're going to talk a little bit more about traits, and we're going to do something really cool and even play a game using them. But imagine that you are a scientist, and you're in charge of making a brand new creature that's going to have the best traits to survive in the wild. What kind of things would you give to your creature? Would you give it really long legs? Would you give it really big eyes? Would you give it really small ears? Would you give it sharp teeth? There's a lot of different things you can give it, but we want to figure out what's going to make this animal or creature, whatever you decide to make, live the longest in the wild. And we're going to use a very few things, but we're going to have a super awesome lesson today. You either need something to write with and something to write on and just keep track of your traits on paper, or you do something and draw your creature as we follow along. Now, I drew this in a specific shape, and you're going to see why, but you basically want a blank person to be able to put all of your traits onto. And just a reminder, if you don't know what traits are the things that make you you that can change from person to person. Maybe it's the color of your eyes, maybe it's the shape of your hair, maybe it's whether or not you have a curly mustache or a straight one. Maybe it's if you have really big ears that pop forward or really small ears that you can't really see. All those different things are traits, and you inherit them from your family. You'll notice that if traits are the same in your family, they probably keep going all the way down. But we're going to do something even cooler and talk about how traits can let you survive in different situations, and also how long traits can be passed down. We talked about more of what traits are last time, and if you missed that, don't forget, check it on newminds.tv. But we're actually going to make our own traits and see how well they would survive on a brand new planet. We're actually in charge of a science organization today, and we are actually creating life. It's super cool, and we need to send it to the planet Mars. We need something that's going to explore deep under the surface, find different things, and be able to make it back alive and keep spreading. So we invented this alien called Freddy. This is Freddy right here. He's going to be our assistant for today. You'll notice that he doesn't have very much. All he has is an antenna. He has nothing on his face yet, and he just has 2 little short arms, but he doesn't have hands. So we're actually going to take Freddy, and we're going to give him our traits, and this is where the activity comes in today. For every trait, I'm going to give you 2 options, and you're going to choose the one you want. I'm going to do 2 different examples, so if you just want to watch the first one, then follow along the second time, that's all right. I'm going to do the first one on paper. So the first choice is I need to choose red or blue eyes. I can either color this in, or I can draw just an R or a B for the different colors if I just want to keep track of it, or just write down I have red eyes or I have blue eyes. So I'm going to give my Freddy red eyes. You don't have to name it Freddy. You can name it whatever you like. So I'm just doing R for red eyes. The next choice you have to make is, do you want it to have 2 separate eyebrows or 1 long connecting unibrow? I think I'm going to give mine a unibrow. So I'm going to draw that across. It looks kind of angry, but I've given Freddy a unibrow now. The next choice is to choose, do you want him to have a long beak that's almost shaped like a horn so it can get into small places, or do you want him to have a big, open, and sharp mouth? I think I want to give mine a long horn beak, so I'm going to draw a triangle like this. The next thing to choose is, do I give him claws or fingers? I think I'm going to give mine sharp claws. Just like this. So now he has sharp hands. The next choice I have is, do I want to give him really big ears, almost like an elephant, or really small mouse ears? I think I'm going to give mine really small mouse ears. And you'll notice I didn't use a whole piece of paper. I just found a scratch piece of paper from yesterday's lesson, so you can reuse some supplies. So we have eyes, we have eyebrows, we have ears, we have hands, but we're missing one thing. Our Freddy has an antenna. So do we want him to have a pointy antenna that's almost a little bit sharp, or do we want him to have a round antenna? I'm going to give mine a round antenna, so it's going to go up. I'm going to draw a round part at the end. So this can be the easy way to make your Freddy. Make sure the head's the biggest part, because that's where the most of your features are. But the hands do need to be in the picture, so even if you draw like a little stick figure, you can give him cool hands to match your fingers or your claws, and have a really big head to draw things on. You don't have to be perfect at drawing as long as you know what it is. If that's the one you want to do, go ahead and keep that one. I'm going to do another example for the people who decided to watch that time and now they want to follow along. Hi, Malcolm and Solomon. It's glad to see you guys again. So what we're doing is we're making Freddy and we're giving him different traits. But we're going to make these traits see if he can survive in the wild, so we're going to play a game in just a little bit. So this is my Freddy, and we're going to go through this feature slowly and see what we can add. The first thing is that we need to choose if we want red eyes. So I have 2 red eyes right here. Or do we want blue eyes? I think I'm going to give mine blue eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and put my eyes on my little eye spots I made. It's a little hard to do this without seeing it, but I think I got it. Oh, almost. I missed a little bit. So right now our Freddy just has some eyes. That's his first trait. The next thing, if you remember, we choose if we want him to have separate eyebrows or one unibrow. I think I'm going to give him separate eyebrows. So I'm going to go ahead and put one on here and make sure they don't touch. So this is Freddy so far. He looks kind of serious, so I think we need to give him a mouth next. I can choose, do I want to give him a sharp beak or a long horn nose? I think I'm going to give him a long horn nose. It's going to kind of remind me of a penguin. Just like that. So he's looking pretty good so far. I think Freddy is almost ready to go on his adventure. The next thing we need to do is decide if we want to give him sharp claws or give him some fingers so he can do some fine motions. I think I'm going to give my Freddy fingers. Keep in mind, if you're just now tuning in, this whole lesson will be uploaded to the New Minds Facebook and also to newminds.tv, so feel free to check those out. They're going to be really helpful resources. There we go. So now our Freddy, he's looking pretty good. He's got hands now. He's a little bit short. We haven't finished his antenna yet, and he's going to need some ears. I think I'm going to give my Freddy really big elephant ears. So I'm going to put my ears on the side. There we go. So now he's got big ears. He looks all cozy and ready to go. And the last thing we need is our antenna. I can give him a pointy antenna or a round antenna. I think, let's see, let's give him a round one. There we go. So now I have my Freddy. My Freddy's looking really nice. He's got his own little movable fingers. He's got a horn nose, blue eyes, 2 separated eyebrows, big ears, and an antenna. I want to make sure I know which ones I have, because we're actually going to play a game. This is the survival game. We're going to see what creatures are going to do really well, what creatures are going to do not so well in the wild. And we'll play this a couple times so you can see different situations your creature lives in, or you can make a different one every time. But here's how you're going to play. You just need something to keep score of. You only need a really little piece of space. You're just going to make a small chart with some tally marks and something to write with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one category for plus and one for minus. How this game is going to work, and I'm just going to draw little boxes so I can keep them separate. So it's going to look like this. This side is a plus, this side's a minus. So every time I do something good that helps my Freddy survive, I'm going to add tallies in the plus area. Every time I do something bad that makes my Freddy get hurt or maybe doesn't survive as well, I'm going to put a mark in the minus area. At the end, I'm going to count all of these up, and then I'm going to see how good or bad my Freddy did. Then we'll be able to compare, so if you put your score in the comments after we're done, we can see what different people ended up with. But then we're going to do a couple more rounds and see different environments are going to be good for different Freddys, so we know where to send them. So here's how this is going to work. I have a chart that's going to tell me what's good and what's bad, and I have a dice to roll. So this is almost like a role-playing game if you play Mr. Adams sessions. But we're going to see how well our Freddys do. This is going to add some randomness. So let's do an example. This isn't part of the game yet. So let's say I'm going to roll the dice, and I'm going to say, horn is good. So I'm going to tell a little bit of a story. So there's these big flowers that are actually really, really deep. But they are full of all sorts of nectar that Freddy can eat as food. If you have the long horn beak, then you can collect this nectar. And then you would get a point. So that was just an example. So we're going to do 5 different situations, and we're going to see how your creature does. So here's round 1. Make sure you know what your traits are. Ooh. So your Freddy is going around the forest, and he's actually trying to hide in some tall grass. But his antenna is actually sticking out, so there could be a bird or a predator looking for him. If he has a pointy antenna, you're going to get a point because you blend in with the tall grass. If he has a round antenna, like mine, you're going to lose a point. So I'm going to say it again. If you have a pointy antenna, you get a point. If you have a round antenna, you're going to lose a point. So I lost a point, so I'm going to put 1 tally mark in my minus column. Just like that. So now I have 1 mark in the minus. So I'm not doing good so far, but we'll see if we can turn it around. The next thing. Ooh. If your Freddy has fingers, he's going to be able to make himself a torch for the night. So he's on Mars and it's getting kind of cold. He's able to find some materials and use these hands to manipulate these materials and pick up a torch to keep him warm for the night. If you have claws, you're not going to do as well at picking it up, and it's going to take you a little bit longer, so you're going to freeze a little bit for the first part of the night. So if you have fingers, like my Freddy, you're going to gain some points. But if you have claws, you're going to lose a point. So I'm actually going to get a point, because I had fingers on mine. So now I am at 1 and 1 for points. The start of something good. Round 3, Freddy survived his night. Now he is up in the morning. But there's actually a predator waiting for him outside. If you have red eyes, you're actually going to be able to scare away the predator. The predator's going to take one look at you and see your red eyes and try and get out of there. But if you have blue eyes, you're actually not going to scare the predator away. You're going to have to fight him off. It's going to be a little bit tough. So if you have red eyes, gain a point. If you have blue eyes, lose a point. So I have blue eyes, so I'm actually going to lose a point. So now I'm back down on my score. Let's see if I can turn around these last 2. The next one. Ooh. If you have fingers again, you're going to gain a point. You're actually able to make an awesome umbrella to keep you safe from the weather. Using your fine motor skills and your fingers, you're actually able to grab some different materials and things, and you keep yourself safe from a space rainstorm. So all these things are reflected off, and you keep your your umbrella, and you keep your antenna nice and dry. So if you have fingers, you're actually going to get another point. If you don't have fingers, you're going to lose a point. So I'm going to gain a point because mine still has fingers, so I actually got 2 points for this overall. In the last round, let's see if mine goes positive or negative with this one. Ooh. We have another one for the pointy antenna. So the story goes, as you're finally settling in to go home, you need to send a transmission back home to tell everyone your mission was successful. If you have a pointy antenna, you're able to aim it and make a pinpoint projection, pew, 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 and transmit back to Earth that you're ready to come home. If you have a round antenna, it's not going to be as powerful. You need a clear sky. So it's going to take you a whole nother day to send a transmission. So if you have a pointy antenna, you're going to gain a point. If you have a round antenna, you're going to lose a point. So I'm going to lose another point. So now that I finished the game, I'm going to see how I ended up. So I have 2 in the plus and 1 in the minus. Sorry, 3 in the minus. So I'm going to take 3 minus, take away the 2 positive. I'm going to end up with 1 negative point. So my Freddy wouldn't do very good on Mars. He would make it a little bit, but he would have a lot of trouble. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board, try again, and see if I can make my Freddy a little better this time. So I'm going to take everything off. And let's think about what we need to change to to make us better. And remember, when we're going, we don't know what's going to be there. Just like some animals, they just end up in a different environment, and they're going to actually be able to survive in different ways. Some things may use their small ears, some things may use their big ears for different reasons to survive in different environments. A good way to think about it is, let's say someone is a cowboy. Cowboys don't normally live where snowstorms are, but they do have a big hat, they have bandanas, and they have big boots. So all those different things are actually going to help them protect them from a snowstorm. So things you might mean to use for one purpose could be used for another one. And that's all we're doing with this traits game. So we're going to play one more time because it's really fun. And we're going to see if mine does a little bit better. I want to try and get a little bit better than -1. So I'm going to grab my sticky note to keep tally. I can do this on the same page to make it just really small. These don't have to be really big. Plus, minus. I think I want to give him small ears this time. Bloop, bloop. I'm going to give him bloop, bloop. I'm going to give him red eyes this time. Here we go. And here we go. I'm going to give him a unibrow. Connect his eyebrows. I'm going to give him the sharp mouth. And I'm going to give him the pointy antenna. Oh, I put his mouth in the wrong spot. So just like that, I have a completely different Freddy, but we're going to see how he does in this environment. Make sure if you have your Freddy at home, try and follow along and see how yours ends up. There's a lot of different combinations, so you're not going to have the same thing as someone else. Not all the traits are going to get used, but this is a fun game you can play. You can always just play with heads or tails. If you're like, is a pointy antenna going to help me? You're going to do heads or tails. And heads would be, yes, it is how to help me. Or tails, it's not going to help you. And you can keep track of points and make up your own stories for why it helped you and why you didn't. It's really good exercise to see how your traits would help you in an environment. You can figure out how big ears would be helpful or how big ears would be hurtful. And it's a really cool experiment to think about your environment and how things would react to it. So we're going to play this one more time, and then we will see where we're going from there. So our first thing that happens to our new and improved Freddy 2.0. The first thing that happens is that it's actually really, as we land on the surface, we are met with a big surprise. It's actually covered in water. If you have blue eyes, you're actually going to be able to blend in really well underwater. If you have red eyes, you're going to stand out. So I'm already at -1 points for having red eyes. But if you have blue eyes, you're going to blend in really well. So the cool thing is, last time, red eyes were helpful. This time, blue eyes are helpful. So different things are going to be helpful in different scenarios. So you never know how your Freddy's going to end up and what the best Freddy will be. So it's a fun guessing game. The second round, there are actually creatures on this island. And they notice that all of the predators have a big connected unibrow so they can make one big frown. And all of the prey has separate eyebrows because their eyes are really far apart. So if you have a connected unibrow, things are going to think you're a predator and stay away from you. So if you have a unibrow like my Freddy does, where it's just one eyebrow, I'm actually going to get a point. So I'm at 1 and 1 so far. We're doing okay. The third situation that happens to our Freddy. Ooh. If we have a beak, we're actually not able to get into the big flowers. We have the same big flowers on bars that are sitting around and they have full of nectar, but I can't really get to it because my beak is too small. So I'm going to try and put my face in it, but that's going to be too far away and I can't get this nectar. So it's going to be hard for me to find food. So I'm actually going to lose another point. Because I have the big crushing beak. That'd be good for like crashing shells and nuts and eating like clams and things, but we don't see any yet. Let's see how we do now. The next thing that happens is if we need to make some tools. Our way of transmission is actually broken and we need to stand it back up. We need to use our fine motor skills to fix it. But my Freddy has claws, so he's actually not going to be able to do anything. He's going to try and pick up the sticks. He's going to kind of drop them a little bit. So I'm going to lose another point. So my Freddy's at -3 and +1. He's not doing too good. Let's see if we can turn it around, the last one. So the final situation as Freddy tries to get back home is that he needs to send his transmission, but it doesn't work well underwater unless it's rounded, because then it could turn all of the water into a transmission, so he can bounce off the water and send the wave back. But we have a pointed antenna, so that's not going to help me. You might have a rounded antenna. You may have picked a pointed antenna, but it's going to be completely different. So I actually lost another point. So this Freddy did even worse than the first one. If I tally up my score, I'm going to end up with -3 points. That's not too good. My Freddy didn't do very well. So you can see how all sorts of different situations are going to come from this. You're going to see how your Freddys end up. Do you have a super Freddy that gets all 5 points perfect and you get +5? You have a Freddy that got -5 points and it didn't do anything right and it just had a bad adventure on Mars? You don't know unless you test out your Freddy and see what he does. This is a cool thing, and you can actually make this out of clay or Play-Doh if you're feeling extra artistic and adventurous. And I can't wait to see all of you guys' awesome Freddys. So if you do make one of these, or you try this experiment or play this game with me, you can follow along with your own Freddy and just mark your own points and don't keep track of mine. And send us awesome pictures of your Freddys. Thank you for tuning in to Real Inspired Learning for All. Remember to stay with your passions until they become your talents. Thank you guys for watching and have a wonderful Tuesday.